hard to follow every student, every coach that you pour into, but for some reason you and I have connected. I followed you, man. I feel like I know your family a little bit. I try to watch y'all's stories and all that, and man, I mean, heck, man, you know the deal, but brother, you're authentic. You played the game, and you teach the game at a high level. You're not a trainer, in my opinion, although sometimes we call ourselves that so that the public can understand what exactly we do. We have to have a definition and a title of what we do in order to define our business. But you're a coach. You're a coach. You're a holistic coach. You don't just put people through drills and try to push products. And so, man, I guess that's why we've connected, and that's why I agreed to do this, is because I know your heart, I know your spirit, and man, just a lot of respect.
Appreciate it, brother. So let's build on kind of some of the things you were touching on this morning. I heard you talking about your childhood growing up, and for people who primarily, especially the younger generation, only know you as a basketball teacher, trainer, coach. G was played at a very high level, very skilled coming out of Hampton. And just talk about that dynamic, because I didn't realize how much we had in common. Because I grew up with, I didn't have my biological mother in the home. I had my dad, who was military, disciplined, work ethic. And I told a story about when I was younger, him forcing me to go up to the park and play with grown men. And I would cry and come home because I wouldn't get picked up. And he said, no, you got to keep going back. You got to keep going back. And, eventually a few years later, I was running that park. But that lesson of earning your stripes, coming up, playing with grown men is so much different than playing against kids. Talk about that coming up in your childhood with that whole dynamic of where that work ethic and intensity comes from and just how you were grown.
Well, I can just mention one word, teacher. And anybody that knows the journey and the environment that a teacher is in, if the teacher is doing it the right way, then that teacher has ultimate respect. Because that's what my parents were, man. They were middle class, teacher at heart. Elementary teacher was my mom. High school teacher was my dad. My dad was a coach. And so, the environment of a lot of high school coaches, they teach social studies for a living, but they tell people what they do for a living is coach. So there's the passion. My granddad, my dad's dad was an alcoholic, was a Marine, fought in World War II. My granddad, my mom's dad, was in the Navy, fought in World War II. So that's old school, man. Their wives stayed at home. Their wives was subservient, didn't question them. They were the authority. They were communistic. They were a dictator. Right. So that's who I grew up with. So I couldn't give my dad the slight eye or even be sarcastic like my kids are now. And the whole reason my kids sometimes are sarcastic and give me the slight eye now is because they have a culture that influences them when I'm not around. TV, iPad, just the whole spirit that the Bible talks about, how this world is just, it'll get worse. It's always been around. And so there's a spirit of more of a disrespect now than it was back then. And back then, my dad beat the hell out of me.
I remember.
I mean, kids nowadays get verbal lashings maybe from a parent who's trying to discipline and hold them accountable. I got belt lashings. Like, some kids got off easy because they got spankings. I got the belt, man. He bypassed that. My dad never gave me spank. I mean, my mom slapped the mess out of me when I was 17, and well-deserved. I mean, I talked back to her. But, that was what I grew up in. I wasn't abused, but there was no dishonor because I knew that I was going to get some pain physically, and I didn't want that. And so, absolutely, I wanted to be a great basketball player, but I was slow and soft. And my dad threw in white, and it had nothing to do with white. That was the thing. If you tried to play basketball, you would get, hey, man, he's slow white boy. White boys can't play this sport because Hampton, Virginia was predominantly African American.
Right.
And we lived near an African American community, and so 5 minutes down the road, my dad said, yo, that's where you need to be if you want to achieve your dreams. And I went to the park with grown men, and they were like, man, white dudes what are you doing here? This ain't a place for white boys. Yo, come on, boy. Like, I got it. Honky, cracker. speaking the truth, white
Yeah.
bread.
Right.
Every now and then I'd hit a shot. I was left-handed too, so every now and then I'd get Chris Mullin, John Stockton. So, you know, I eventually came to the conclusion that, you know what, success is colorblind and gender-free. They're just identifying by what they see, but that's not who I am. And eventually, through the relationship I built, because I didn't leave that court, man. You know, once I was on the streets playing ball, I stayed there until I retired from basketball. So I built relationships with people of a different creed and color than me. And it has really changed the rest of my life. It really has helped my leadership style, dealing with the diversity of the different generations that you and I teach today.
Right. Right. So playing on that, and I've heard you talk about Iverson, and just all. And you know what? What's crazy is a lot of times the names that people never know were the most talented ones coming up. And I can attest to that because I grew up the different era. I would ride the public bus, the TARC bus downtown Louisville, and grew up playing at this place, Warner Street Baptist Church. And I'm growing up as a kid, and my one-on-one battles are against Rajon Rondo. You know, I was his backup for the AAU program, but Rajon wasn't even remotely the best player. There was way more talented young players back then.
Wow.
So, you know, talk about that kind of just playing at a high level. One of my good friends is Dan Ditka, you know, played at Gonzaga, played in the league, and he talked about for small guards, and I asked him, you know, how'd you make it in the league? And he talked about having that pit bull mentality. You got to be his word that he used was, when I play the game, I'm going to be a monster for a loose ball. You know, that's the way I approach the game. So, and I picked that up immediately from just the way you carry yourself, your demeanor, your aura when you're in the gym. So talk about that a little bit.
You talking about Dan Dickow, the floppy haired?
Yeah.
Yeah. My brother lost to them in the second round of the NCAA tournament in Richmond. My brother played for John Beeline, and I was at that game, and that was the first time I saw he could play. He's an NBA player, right?
Yeah, he played for 6 years in the league.
Yeah, he was good, man. Your question was, you have to have a pit bull mentality. How do you develop it?
Yeah, as far as being a guard and surviving in the environment you grew up in, and then move on up the ranks, high school, college, and pro. Talk about, for a small guard, kind of that mentality that I'm hearing across the board from high-level players.
Well, you're 100% right. You have to have a pit bull mentality, meaning you're not afraid and you're going to fight. Am I correct?
Yes,
Is that what a pit bull is? A pit bull is smaller than some dogs, right? A pit bull is in shape, right? A pit bull plays through pain. And that's it right there. And so what I'm telling coaches and players is, before you get your body right, your mind's got to get there first. I mean, you know, I'm doing outside workouts like you for different organizations. I was on the NABC the other day. The first thing I said was, before you go work out, you better get the right mindset. Because what I saw growing up, right, is no different than what I see now. Nobody's in the gym. Nobody's in the gym by themselves, working out to exhaustion. I'm telling you, I've been to 48 countries. You've been to a lot. I don't ever see guys like getting after it like you see on a 1-minute Instagram workout. Yeah, they're getting after it. They're sweating. They're maybe even making a few mistakes. But you don't see that like in live.
Right.
And I have testimony after testimony, witnesses out there that, you know, we could draw up and they could tell you, that was Ganon. That was Ganon. He wasn't the best player always, but that son of a gun was the most passionate, and he never turned it off. You know what I mean? Like, I never turned my motor off. Now, did I make mistakes? Yeah. Was I good enough to play EuroLeague and NBA? No. No, but I was good enough to play at a high level and do what I had to do, you know, Division I, overseas, NBA tryout. Like, I've had a hell of a career, but I wasn't good enough, and I had to do some other things better to really, you know, maximize the highest level, like make the NBA, be a EuroLeague player. Like, man, I regret some of that. As hard as I worked, I deserved it. I deserved to play in the NBA as hard as I worked, as much as I won. I was a pit bull, but I still wasn't good enough. And, you know, you have to get that mindset. Like at 13, 12 and a half, 13, I decided I'm not going back to soccer. I'm not going back to swimming. I'm not going to play baseball as a profession. I want to go to college. I want to be successful in high school with basketball. And then, you know what? I'm going to try my ranks as an NBA player. And if not, I'm going to be a coach. I knew at 13 I wanted to do basketball for the rest of my life. And, like, that's it. That's a pit bull. Pit bull is I am going to protect, right, what you're trying to get, or I'm going to go out and get what I want to get. And if I lose, I better be dead. Because if I'm not dead, I'm coming back again. I'm coming back again. I'm coming back again. I'm going to go work on my game. I'm going to go lick my wounds. I'm going to go get better, right? You knock me down. I take the punches, but I'm still coming after you. And that's what I tell people, like, how do you get your passion after doing it all these years? You started it. Now you're still in it. How do you, because I'm not dead. I love this. I'm not, quitting and going doing another career like that. That's fine. There's a lot of people I've mentored, a lot of students that had done skill training 10 years, 15 years, then they go do something else. Right. And I get this from people, and I think it's just they're messing with me, but they don't want to, like, tell me what they really feel, but they just kind of, Ganon. And here's the deal. They'll ask me, Ganon, how long can you do this? What do you mean? I can do this till I'm dead. Like, they think, oh, you can't do this. You're physical. You could spend a lot. I don't ever see guys like, getting after it like you see on a 1-minute Instagram workout. Yeah, they're getting after it. They're sweating. They're maybe even making a few mistakes. But you don't see that like in live. Right. And I have testimony after testimony, witnesses out there that we could draw up and they could tell you, oh, that was Ganon. That was Ganon. He wasn't the best player always, but that son of a gun was the most passionate, and he never turned it off. You know what I mean? Like, I never turned my motor off. Now, did I make mistakes? Yeah. Was I good enough to play EuroLeague and NBA? No. No, but I was good enough to play at a high level and do what I had to do, Division I, overseas, NBA tryout. Like, I've had a hell of a career, but I wasn't good enough, and I had to do some other things better to really, maximize the highest level, like make the NBA, be a EuroLeague player. Like, man, I regret some of that. As hard as I worked, I deserved it. I deserved to play in the NBA as hard as I worked, as much as I won. I was a pit bull, but I still wasn't good enough. And, you have to get that mindset. Like at 13, 12 and a half, 13, I decided I'm not going back to soccer. I'm not going back to swimming. I'm not going to play baseball as a profession. I want to go to college. I want to be successful in high school with basketball. And then, you know what? I'm going to try my ranks as an NBA player. And if not, I'm going to be a coach. I knew at 13 I wanted to do basketball for the rest of my life. And, like, that's it. That's a pit bull. Pit bull is I am going to protect, right, what you're trying to get, or I'm going to go out and get what I want to get. And if I lose, I better be dead. Because if I'm not dead, I'm coming back again. I'm coming back again. I'm coming back again. I'm going to go work on my game. I'm going to go lick my wounds. I'm going to go get better, right? You knock me down. I take the punches, but I'm still coming after you. And that's what I tell people, like, how do you get your passion after doing it all these years? You started it. Now you're still in it. Because I'm not dead. I love this. I'm not, quitting and going doing another career like that. That's fine. There's a lot of people I've mentored, a lot of students that had done skill training 10 years, 15 years, then they go do something else. Right. And I get this from people, and I think it's just they're messing with me, but they don't want to, like, tell me what they really feel, but they just kind of, Ganon. And here's the deal. They'll ask me, Ganon, how long can you do this? What do you mean? I can do this till I'm dead. Like, they think, oh, you can't do this. You're physical. You get pushed out the market. All these young get saturated. You got 3 kids. The virus. No, man. Look, I'm going to do this until God Almighty says, you know what? Here's what I want you to do. And I'm just telling you right now, fulfill. Romans 12. That's my gift, man. We're all given gifts. Some is to lead, some is to prophecy, right? Some is to teach. This is my gift to impact the kingdom of God using basketball as a camouflage for His kingdom or a platform for His kingdom, man. And I feel that today.
Right.
And that's a pit bull. A pit bull has to be committed to working on their goal until what, Ganon? Until it's finished.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you might not achieve that goal, but the values and the growth that you get from working like a pit bull through that goal, where you gotta go through pain. You don't let fear affect you. You acknowledge and you build relationships. You bring others with you, a pack of pit bulls with you. You understand what a pit bull is, then you help somebody become one themselves. That's all that involved in the journey. And that's the most important thing, are the values and who you become and what you give as part of that. That goal, that trophy, that's just the byproduct. It's the journey. It's the process.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So
you fired me up. Let's go, Phil. Let's go. You fired me up.
Hey, let me sub in Pitbull and bring the word cleaner in. You know Tim Grover. Me and you, we were talking about this Last Dance documentary. We're going to get into that. Now, as you transition out of being a player, and that's a tough transition for a lot of guys, transition into coaching, training, or just into a career, okay? Having the Division I success, playing at a high level, even we talked about the NBA tryout. How did you know, as far as from a competitive standpoint, and also how the Lord revealed to you that it was time to make that transition? Talk about how tough that transition was, or how the Lord made it clear to you that your calling and your anointing is to be a skills development coach.
That's a great question. For everybody, it's always different God winks. God will send you person, place, or things, I believe, into your life. You have to be at a calm and peaceful, clear mindset. It's your soul. So your soul is your will and emotions. And if they're negative or clouded, you ain't going to see the signs. You're not going to hear God. The spirit is always clean. If you accept Jesus Christ into your life, now you have the Holy Spirit that Jesus left in the book of Acts. He said, I will leave you, I will not leave you comfortless, but I will leave you a comforter. That's the Holy Spirit. That's everything right. That's everything you're supposed to do in this life. That's the universe's will for you, right? But your soul messes it up, because that's the gut, that's the conscience, right? That's the emotions you feel. So you always got to keep your mind clean. And so in 2000, I was playing in Iceland, and I had a tibial tendon injury that they thought was tendonitis. My doctors over here misdiagnosed it twice. I finally went to a professional. How about that concept? If you want to really learn something, go to a professional. Now, I went to 2 family doctors, tendonitis. I went to an Olympic doctor. Like the guys the Olympics have used, or he has Olympic information. He's an OG. I went to him. He said, oh, dude, you tore your tendon. Like, this was 3 months after I came back from ice. So I wasted 3 months of my life.
Right.
I'm glad. Not then, but now. That was God telling me, look, I'm going to give you 3 months to clear your mind. I'm going to give you this. This injury is going to be allowed to happen so I can show you your path. So that injury, Phil, put me on the shelf for 8 months. 8 months, I couldn't play, boot, rehab, sit like this. So in those, what do you think I did in those 3 to 8 months? Almost a year. What do you think I did? Sat in solitude. Parents' house.
That gotta be tough. That gotta be tough.
Hey, man. Yeah. In my parents' house, on the couch. No, I wish I could have documented it, but it was 2000. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Was the internet up in 2000?
No phones though, not really. They just coming in. Yeah.
I read The Power of Positive. I read the Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren.
Right.
I read the Prayer of Jabez. There's a little prayer in Jabez, right? Oh Lord, bless me indeed. Expand my territory. Be with me in all all that I do and keep me away from evil. Like that was a whole book on that. Purpose-driven life, prayer and solitude with God. My mind was clear. I got a vision. I got a purpose.
Yeah.
I wrote it down. I recited it. I reviewed it. I started to write my curriculum. Shake and Bake basketball services.
Shake and Bake. I remember Shake and Bake.
Yeah, it was born.
Yeah, I remember
Shake
and Bake.
I mean, this ain't something I'm making up or it sounds good. Like this is one of the reasons why I'm so successful is because I am transparent, I am truthful, I am organic, I am authentic, I'm real. Not perfect, but I don't hide stuff. I am secure in my story. So I'll tell you, hey man, I was divorced. Hey man, I could have been a multi-millionaire if I'd have figured out how to organize this training industry because I was the first one to do it.
Yeah.
You talk about those, NBA videos. Man, I was doing that in 2002 on VCRs.
Right.
Everything products, I had some profit. Everything you see in our industry, online good, online not so good, I have done. I've done that. Like, there's nothing really original that I've seen out there that anybody else doing because I was doing it because it came from a spiritual calling, man. And my point is, I'm secure enough to tell you, look, I made mistakes. I've done this. I've done that. Like I don't care what people think about me. I just want people to respect me and understand the truth. And that's all I try to do because the truth fears no question.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about this industry liking me. I want this industry to learn from me. I want this industry to be inspired. If I say something to tick you off so much, then good. I want you to go out and prove me wrong or prove me right. Either way, a great leader and mentor, a pit bull, right, embraces the stretchness and the growth, right, and the wisdom that somebody gives them.
That's good.
They don't mind a pit bull. You know why they're so tough? Because they're beaten, abused, and I'm not saying that's right, but they're obedient. If you get a pit bull and you train, they're tremendously why? Because Michael Vick, the whole Michael Vick situation, man, that happened in my back, in my town, in my city. So I've been around people that, that's part of the hood. I didn't know about dog fights, but I've seen them. I played in the streets and there's pit bulls on the side. Like, I didn't know, and so they told me about it. Man, pit bulls are very obedient to their masters. And that's something for the trainers and coaches out there, man. If you want freedom in this industry, if you want freedom as a business owner, if you want freedom in your finances, if you want freedom in your spirit, you have to be obedient. Obedience comes before freedom.
Okay, let's stay right there. I want to stay right there because you made a point. Now, I had a chance, for those that don't know, I traveled down to Florida, learned from Ganon, got on call with him, trained a little bit, and then I remember we had a couple conversations at a dinner later that night. I was down there for a few days, and it was kind of one of those things where you were unpacking, and I appreciate that because you really spoke into my heart and my mind at that time because of the respect I had for you. But how you continue to plug on, being kind of a pioneer of the game, and you see how, let's focus on basketball training, how it has become so saturated and exploded with the rise of social media. And you see so many people, in my personal opinion, have kind of played off of what you've done and then tried to maybe do their own thing or figure this thing out to where it's less about teaching and it's become more about, can I get engagement? Can I get more followers? Can I get more likes? Less basketball teachers and more entertainers. And so talk on that, G, as far as you really pioneering that and the people you learn from, and for the young ones that hit you up every single day, that are in your program, being mentored, that want to be the next Ganon Baker in their own field. Talk about kind of the price you paid and how you would go about that moving forward.
That's a loaded question. You said a lot, so I'm going to respond. I think I know what you asked me. Yeah. It comes down to this, man. Like, if you're a player or a coach, and it doesn't have to be Nike, although they've been in my family, right, for years. The It's all about the game. Do you love the game? I think a lot of these entertainers and influencers love the game. That's why they're doing it. They got that right. But the second thing is like people. You have to love people. Do people need to be entertained more or educated and inspired more? Basketball is an entertainment industry, but it's not about the coaches. You know what I mean? If your calling is to entertain people, then call yourself that. So guys like you and me, real coaches, parents that we're really trying to impact and influence, and other younger coaches being born into this industry, we don't confuse them. Because what you get now is you get a lot of narcissistic stuff, philosophies, and I agree, the individual player, right, does need individual moves. It's great to use tricky video editing to draw people in with NBA, WNBA highlights. But the whole job of you training players individually or with a group is to teach them how to win in basketball. Winning in basketball has a lot to do with system or not, these players are going back and playing for some kind of team. And so that message has to be sent. And maybe it is during the unseen hours. I don't know. I just know after 30 years being in this industry and the feedback I'm getting from Penny Hardaway at Memphis and X amount of other coaches that I've been around. We just did a survey all around the world. We had 250 coaches email us back. A lot college, player development, NBA, high school, club, trainers. And they gave us top 10 problems that they're facing with their players. So all the coaches who face these problems, these players go back and they play selfish. They are inconsistent motors. They get nervous and they get in the game and don't know how to make reads and decisions. And then when they face pain or emotional uneasiness, they go into the transfer portal. They become silent and selfish, or they quit, to name a few. And the entertainers, the coaches that are, out there in our industry aren't teaching solutions to that. So why not? And if they're not, that's fine. Then say who you are. Define who you are. Hey, I'm a strength and conditioning scientist. Yeah, you're not a coach. Hey, I am a social media influencer entertainer. Good. But you're not a basketball coach. You're not a basketball trainer. I'm on the phone, boy. Yeah, I'm about to put you in the sandbox. Just talking about disobedience. Get over here. My 6-year-old, man. So, you see what I'm saying? And so, the teaching methods, the feedback, how are they working on their craft to connect with that player mentally, emotionally, and then physically? You got to show these players how to play the game, how to make reads, right? How to react, how to treat and play with a teammate. Real education on a ball screen. So many trainers and coaches out there are creating new vocabulary and new, punch, drag, dribble, step back, switch ups. Like, that's creative, that's great. But now, coaches, kids have to go learn 18 languages. Why can't we just all kind of use the same terminology so that if a player trains with me and then they go train with Phil, you know, they learn the same thing. There's so much insecurity and, you know, competition between all these guys. And I just don't see a lot of security and genuineness online the way these guys are off. And it's almost like a parent, you know, relatives, they don't want to address the family curse because it's very uncomfortable. It's very hard to have intervention with people that really have demons and struggle. And so a lot of these players, you know, have demons and do struggle and are soft. And, you know, I address it. Sometimes it's too harsh. Sometimes it's right on point. But I am going to address problems, whether it's popular on social media or not. Because that's what a real coach does, man. They break habits. They don't break hearts. They love the players. It's about them having success, more about raising your business revenue and popularity so you can go sell that business or push a product in a drill. Now you go sell that drill. So they have more passion for tricks than teaching. And, you know, if you want to use terminology, then let's use the terminology of NBA and college. And you might, but here's the deal. NBA changed their terminology. And why? Why? Because they don't want the other team to scout them. So let's dial it down even more. Let's use high school terminology and college terminology. And maybe old school terminology like a ball screen, screen, it might be a twist. Now it could be a wiggle, a flip, a touch, you know, an action. And so, I guess what I'm saying is there has to be more clarity. More overcome. Make the NBA 10. All right, you got to learn another language, but you know, we got these. But I always agree that you should try to use the terminology of the NBA, of a college, but just have a balance, man. A lot of things you see now is just over the top, and it's a simple game, simple formula for success. Reminds me of John Wick. I love John Wick with all of the stuff he talks about. You teach something to a player, and they can't teach that back to you, or explain it simply as a child. And hey, for everybody watching or who will watch, say that again. That's a great technique to see if your players are understanding what you're giving. I call that impartation. I've noticed you did this to me, and I really love John Wooden's point. When I'm in the gym, I'll see something, and I want the player to see that. Wooden said, you teach something to a player, and then they cannot simply teach that to another player or back to you, and you haven't done your job as a coach. You got to make it simple for the player to understand, and that might be audio, visual, different ways, but you got to learn to push those right buttons. That makes sense. Yeah, I call it impartation. Like an average teacher gives information. I mean, the player hears it, they soak it up. A great teacher allows for impartation, meaning they break it down, they demonstrate, they ask why, and now the player not only listens, they understand. If they understand, they can go duplicate it and replicate it. And so you asking the player, show me what I just showed you, show me what I just said. All right, now you teach me that. Like that's actually a great technique to get them to really learn and understand. Because if a kid or a team does something wrong in a practice, first thing I do, I don't yell at them. It's my fault. I assume I wasn't clear. So I'm like, hey, let me break it down. So I ask them, you hear me? And if they tell me what I said, they're like, let's go. Yeah. And then second time they mess it up, man, it's on them. Yeah. First time, I always look at me, man, I didn't teach you clear enough. Let me reteach you. So, hey, I got to tell a story about you. I didn't know this. Because it's different when you're live in person. All right, when we were in a concession, he goes 6 straight hours
straight hours on the court, sweating, training, teaching, incredible. But for the 40 coaches of us that were kind of there, you're pulling people on the court. I just remember everyone was engaged because you're just firing questions. And straight up, some grown men would just look dumb. They would just be like, next one, go. You know, it reminded me of the story Corey told about him and Stephon Marbury. Yo, you weren't ready in the moment, let's go. Let's move on, and then you're ready next time around with how you teach. So that's a good point, man. Let me switch gears, G. Talk to me really on how, you know, my whole focus beyond being a basketball teacher is trying to be a basketball missionary with the game. I think we're like-minded about that. I guess it's drawn us to each other as well. Talk about how this tremendous basketball platform you have, how you use that in a way that glorifies God and helps you be a witness in your field.
Well, man, that's a great question because it's hard. It's hard because it's not expected. People aren't expecting that, nor do I sometimes think they want that. You know, especially in foreign countries, Asia, China, Middle East.
Yeah, that's a tough dynamic. Yeah.
Germany, Nike events. They don't, you know, the views expressed by Ganon Baker are not of Nike. Like whatever he says about Jesus, we're taking the fifth completely. You know what I mean? So it's not expected, man. Basketball, like a lot of industries, glorifies and celebrates the wrong things. You gotta be popular, you gotta win, you gotta, you want to have money, you want to have popularity, you want to kill or be killed. I mean, it's tough. I mean, it wears on you. So, I get into a routine. As a coach, you prepare yourself as a player. Part of my routine is first thing we do before every workout, we pray. And before I pray, I don't assume anything. I tell them why. Here's why we pray. Because I tell them about God as my coach. The Bible is my playbook. You talk to your coach through prayer, and the game is life. There's evil, which is the opponent, and there's good, which is, who God is and what God's name is. So, I prepare for that. I ask God to give me words. I try to meditate on Scripture so the Holy Spirit comes out and not me. So I do that, and then every now and then during the workout, I'll say, look, this is Scripture. This is from the Bible, but you reap what you sow, or there's a king inside you. Greater is he who's in me than he who's in the world. Faith is the evidence of what is unseen and things that come. So it's like I'm given Scripture during the workout. And then after the workout, I say, look, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank God for giving me this gift. And all of you guys were created for a purpose, and you have a purpose. And that's how I do it. And I always say, hit me up if you got any life and basketball questions. And through that interaction, almost every time, almost every workout, every meeting, I got somebody I'm witnessing to about Jesus Christ. And but it's not religious. Hey, say this prayer and you get to heaven. Nah, man, it's really about how to fight depression, how to fight fear, how to let the light shine in your life, how to have clarity during times of crisis like we're living in now, how to connect with God, how to deal with unforgiveness, like all that, man. And because it ain't about this. It's about, like I said, His kingdom, but you can't go in there with the cross, John 3:16 sign. People don't want to hear that, man. What Jesus said, you come as you are. This is who I am. And that's what I do. And I can't run. I can't be clear in my mind or spirit if I didn't know the reason behind everything. The reason I
changed your life, man? There's a lot of people going through that right now. They reached out to you about that.
Well, let's talk about that. 'Cause maybe that's the reason why we're on this call. Look, when I first started my business or ministry, however you want to call it, nobody really knew me. I had to defend my vision. Right? I was a former high school, college player, pro player. That was, I mean, so I called 100 people in my hometown, and they knew me. Right? Connected with them. 100 people, and two people went to train with me. So I focused on that. And I knew from the beginning that, you know what, God, you're going to be in this thing. Because I ain't good enough to do this on my own. I don't know nothing about business. I'm doing something that I didn't go to school to learn. Nobody in the world at the time I knew was doing this. But I'm going to do it. Right? I still Beckner, send me the shirt. Be better, be different. Like that was me. I was going to be better. And man, I certainly was different. Still different. So I brought God in right away. I wasn't elite. You don't have to be elite. You don't have to be popular.
That's a good word,
like,
man.
you know what I mean? God, you are a son or daughter of the Most High. Like, God is not concerned about Instagram followers. He's concerned about their heart. He's concerned about how much you love. If you love him worth 1 million followers, that's all you need. But you need to be bold. You know, so when two or more come together in prayer, right? I hear you. You praise my name in front of others. I'll praise your name in front of my Father. So it's like, I wasn't like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you love Jesus and you are passionate about Jesus, then yeah, be secure in having your own style or perspective or ministry in how you praise him. Now again, I get criticized by not acknowledging. Why don't you run your own ministry? You know, have salvation calls
Right.
at your camp. Well, again, I'm not an evangelist. I'm not a pastor. If I did those things, I would never get into China. But because I listen to I have my own discernment and my own common sense about what God wants me to do, I've gone to China for 3 years in an agnostic country, and not one time have they said stop talking about Jesus when you talk about leadership. We talk about, coach, how do you get wisdom? How do you motivate the players? And I say, Jesus Christ, man. Coach, where do you get your inspiration and creativity? I said, prayer, meditation, solitude, and a notebook. Put it down. So, you know, you don't have to be popular to be, you know, a soldier of Christ.
Yeah.
The things in my life where I know God is, I'm living it right now. 80% of small businesses fail within 6 months. I started out with no clue what, and I've gone through the recession, 2008, and we're going through this now, and it has not affected my personal bank account yet, nor will it. I have lasted through the years with so many people, you know, to my face and online, doubting me and telling me it's wrong. And I went through a prep school. I had a prep school for 5 years. Moved my whole life to this, put everything into this prep school, Elevate, and it shut down after 5 years because we had a baseball player get run over by a train and died. So our owner shut it down. Like, that would kill people, but not me. God got me through that. Doing a business in China for the last 3 years, and to travel there 6 months out the year is pure hell. But we're doing it. We're finding a way.
Yeah.
There's a passion. There's a purpose. People are like, man, I can never do that. Like, I'm doing that. I helped create a job for Corey.
Yeah.
Right? And now he's already transforming lives. But if I don't go to China, Corey doesn't get that job in China, nor does he go to China
story still be successful? Yes. But now we got a Christian brother in China, right, who's Holy Spirit driven, filled, changing lives. Like, that's missionary work, man.
Yeah.
And they're not, and we didn't go to seminary school to learn that. We read and studied the New Testament and the lives of the disciples. That's how we got that. And so that's my other message, man, is God is using my business for ministry.
Yeah.
I went through a divorce. And I went through a divorce as being a Christian. Like, that's tough. That's hard. That's hard for me to even admit that.
Yeah.
There's some hypocritical thoughts going through my mind when I talk about that. 10 months later, after my divorce, I met MJ.
Right.
And she's my soulmate.
Yeah.
Got 3 beautiful kids. That's God, man. Divorce can make or break people. Financially, spiritually, relationally.
Yeah.
Divorce is hell. My brother was in a car accident, right, 1996, and he died. That could have, we were tighter than pantyhose, and that could have. I know it affected some of my other family members. They were affected dramatically. Some of them still to this day. So God got me through that. So in my life, God is a restorer, God is a redeemer, and God is never finished with me. Unless, I'm finished with myself. Like, God has my story and my journey written. It's not going to change. I just have to be acknowledging that I got to stay connected to him, like I'm connected to this phone. If I become unplugged from God, I'm lost. But if I plug into God, then I'm always going to have a plan and a compass. And the last thing I'll say is, after 20 years, everybody's doing player training. So how can I pioneer something else?
Yeah.
And that's what moved me in. Mihai, decided to work for me full time. He's the really.
Mihai's the man, man. Mihai's the man.
He's the one behind my business. But it's amazing in 3 years what we've done. And Phil, you won't see the fruits of it maybe until a year or two later. But we are going to break through. We're on the verge of doing something special, and that's basically life coaching through basketball. Like, we're mentoring players, parents, coaches, and players to holistically, right, change not only their game but their life. Like, we're helping people. We're helping people become better leaders, better humans, better coaches, better players. And now's the right time to do it. I couldn't do that 10 years ago. I know some guys now are copying my models, and they're doing it after 4 or 5 years. That's fine. But look, I've been doing this thing for 30 years.
Right.
And so every situation, every solution that I'm teaching has been tested, proven, agreed upon, respected at the highest level, right? Good, bad, pain, progress. I'm giving it to you all. The one thing with me, it's not BS. And God has finally made that clear to me, like, no, dog, this is what you're doing. But it's hard. Because, like, basketball industry is cheap. There's so much free stuff out there. People are uneducated. My information sometimes is clouded will say is you live at the point of impact, meaning you throw a rock out into the pond. Where it hits the water, that's the splash. That's where you live. That's the God-given. I knew about it, but when I got in person, I didn't realize the energy. Then I said to my wife, I called her when I went back to Brazil. I said, I don't know what this man is running on, but he got some kind of energy. It got to come from God. It's incredible what he does, and his gift to teach. And one of my favorite old preachers a long time ago said, if you get on fire for God, he will come and watch you burn. The love will come and watch you burn. And
I gotta write that down. That's good stuff.
that's what I sensed when I was around you in spirit. And man, I'm thankful for all that. But I would say keep going, man. You live at the point of impact, but you don't see the ripple effect. That's the reason why I want to do this interview, because I'm going to chop this up and use this to encourage other believers around the world where they're at. They may never get a chance to talk to you like this, or never get a chance to meet you in person. But that ripple going out, man, is going to make an impact on that. It's made an impact on my life, so I just want to thank you for that, man. I appreciate you for that.
Hey, Phil, anytime, man, you and your family need to come down here and enjoy Florida.
Amanda talks about it, man. Amanda would love you. So she says what's up.
Yeah, man. Her and my wife, I think we really get along. We live 500 yards from the beach, man, and y'all can stay with us. We got plenty of room. You can give me all the things that you've learned, and I go make a video about it.
Yeah. Maybe your little guys can wrestle and all that one, man.
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But hey, brother, the floor is yours, man. Tell me about what you got going. Even what's the encouraging message. You got a couple minutes. You got it.
Well, I saw one of the comments from a guy named Mojo. He's funny. He said, man, let me hold a few dollars, man. That's funny. So, hey, Mojo, if you're out there, if you're still listening, here's the way to get more money. Number one, whatever you got in the bank account, say you got $100 in your bank account, right? Take 10% of that, which is $10, and go sow into somebody's life. That's how you make money. The reason Phil and I are financially secure right now, or maybe I'm speaking for him, I know I'm very financially secure because, man, I give a lot of what I have to others. And you only get from life what you put in. If you find yourself not getting a lot out of this and that, my question is, what are you putting in? And that's my final thought, man. You reap what you sow, and life is circular. If you want reciprocity, if you want a great relationship, you gotta have reciprocity with your wife, with your other dude, with your whoever, man. And my point is, if you guys look at this pandemic and this crisis as the world's F this, F that, your negativity. You got some negative comments on this because they're not secure in who they are. That's what you're gonna get, right? If you're negative and call somebody a fiend, that's probably what you are. If you go out there and fight for your family for this crisis and learn how to be productive and learn how to be passionate and add another tool to your toolbox and go out there and do things for free and try to do things to lift people up and use your time for building others and your business up, and you don't look at this pandemic as something that's a pain. You look at it and you know what, there's a purpose behind it, there's a passion behind it. You got all this free time now. Right. That's the greatest resource you got is your health and money. You're not doing that to build up your family's kingdom, all right, God's kingdom, and others people's kingdom, then you've lost. You've lost, and the only way you get that back is to go to a higher power. I call him God. Go to his assistant coach, his running mate, his son, Jesus Christ. Get the Holy Spirit in you, which is wisdom, and then be obedient. Just try it for a year. Be obedient and see the freedom you live in. I'm dropping the mic on that. Drop it.